attack in with our Peregrine Took and our Brandybuck. Create some more counters, which we will then use to buff up Samwise Gamgee. Intro. Hey friends, and welcome to Poor Mana's Magic, a place where the wildcards never rain on our parade. Today we are taking a look at a viewer request for a midweek magic deck that centers on the Shirelings and food mechanic. Now, this particular version of the deck does have some rares, but you can check out my Lord of the Rings 4 No Rares deck video for a budget version, which I will link in the description and should be appearing on your screen. This is the version of this deck that I would be taking into Midweek Magic. And if you have picked up any rares or mythics along the way, maybe you can craft something similar. So let's walk through the deck. In the 1 slot, we have 1 copy of Frodo Sauron's Bane, a 1 white legendary halfling citizen that you can slowly level up. And if you get to the 4th counter of the ring and Frodo deals damage to your opponent, you will win the game. A really cool alternative win con, and just a very, very flavorful card all around. We also have 4 copies of Delighted Halfling, a 1 green mana producer, which can tap to add 1 colorless or add 1 mana of any color to cast legendary spells. We also have 2 copies of Mirkwood Spider, a 1 green Death Toucher. I have found Mirkwood Spider to be hugely problematic in the limited format drafting that I've been doing, and I suspect in the constructed environment that Midweek Magic will be, Mirkwood is going to cause some issues. In our 2 slot, we have a bit of removal. We have Hobbit Sting, a 1 mana and 1 white instant, which deals X damage to a target creature, where X is the number of creatures you control plus the number of foods. We also have Reprieve, which returns a target spell to its owner's hand, draws us a card. We have 1 copy of Samwise the Stouthearted, a flash creature which returns a permanent card from your graveyard if it was put there this turn. We have 2 copies of Meriadoc Brandybuck, which says whenever 1 or more halflings you control attacks a player, create a food token. We have 3 copies of Frodo Baggins, a legendary halfling scout for 1 green and 1 white. And when Frodo Baggins or another legendary creature enters the battlefield, the ring tempts us. And as long as Frodo is your ring bearer, it must be blocked if able. We have 2 copies of the rare Samwise Gamgee, a 1 green, 1 white legendary halfling peasant, which says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, we get to create a food token. And also, if we sacrifice 3 food tokens, we can return a target historic card from our graveyard to our hand. Now, this is a big reason why we are playing so many legendary creatures. Essentially, if we are producing food, Samwise is on the battlefield, we are going to be able to return most of the creatures that have died or been countered from our graveyard back to our hand, and this is going to exhaust our opponent's controlling resources. We also have 3 copies of Lembas, a 2 mana artifact food, which when it enters the battlefield, scries 1 and draws us a card. We can also pay 2 and tap and sacrifice Lembas to gain 3 life. When Lembas is put into a graveyard this way, its owner shuffles it back into the library. So this is kind of a sort of infinite card draw, which will come in handy from time to time, but mostly this is a way to add to our food so we can maybe return an historic card, or for us to gain some life and get into a better play if we have a dead hand. In the 3-drop, we have Rosy Cotton of South Lane, a 2 mana 1 white halfling peasant that when it enters creates a food token, and whenever you create a token, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control other than Rosie. This is going to be the main way that we start leveling up our battlefield, but we don't want to level up too fast because we have 2 copies of the Battle of Bywater, a 1 mana 2 white sorcery spell that destroys all creatures with power 3 or greater and creates a food token for each creature we control. Now, this does resolve in the order of these sentences. First, we destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then we create a food token. So if we destroy one of our own creatures, we will create less food tokens. But most of our creatures do have less power than 3, so we should be okay. And then rounding out the 3rd slot is Peregrine Took, a legendary halfling citizen, which says if 1 or more tokens would be created under our control, those tokens plus an additional food are created, and we can sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card. So this and Samwise Gamgee are kind of our 2 food-based engines, and hopefully we can have 1 or both on the board at any given time. In the 4th slot, I'm trying something a little bit different than most of the Shirelings decks I've seen, and I'm playing War of the Last Alliance, a 3 mana, 1 white saga, where chapters 1 and 2 say search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. And Chapter 3 says, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. This is a really great way of, if we have been kind of controlled out of the game, we can play War of the Last Alliance, replenish our hand with some of our main engines, like a Samwise, a Frodo, or a Peregrine Took, and we can keep applying pressure. We also have Elven Chorus, a single copy, that is a 3-mana 1-green enchantment that allows us to look at the top card of our library, cast creature spells from the top of our library, and gives our creatures tap to add 1 mana of any color. I have found that this has been an excellent card in a lot of the low to the ground, more aggressive builds. I'm really surprised we haven't seen more of this. We also have Radagast the Brown, a 2 mana and 2 green legendary avatar wizard that says whenever Radagast or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, look at the top X cards of our library, where X is that creature's mana value. And we can reveal a creature card that doesn't share a creature type with a creature we control from among those cards and put it into our hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is really good when we have an empty hand. If we end up having a full hand, we get Radagast a little bit early. It is a little problematic because we won't be able to draw halflings if we have halflings, but this is a really good kind of late game, keep it going kind of card. Because we are playing so many food producers and we have the ability to gain life, I am including a copy of the One Ring. Now this has been a little bit of an interesting card in the constructed format. It can be very, very powerful in a controlling build where the deck wants to draw a lot of cards and can find multiple copies of the One Ring to reset the number of burden counters. But the life loss from this card is actually significantly higher than most people expect. And I've won quite a few games by watching my opponent slowly kill themselves. So we'll include it here for some extra card draw and because we can offset the loss of life. And then, as far as our mana base, we're keeping it pretty simple. We have 9 plains, we have 10 forests, we have 4 Great Halls of the Citadel because we are playing so many legendary creatures. And so this is our Shirelings deck for the Midweek Magic event. Let's go ahead and take it in to the Alchemy Play Queue and see how it does. Okay, on the play against Kill a Tomato. We have some turn 2 plays, some turn 3 plays, we have some removal. It's pretty good to me. Go ahead and lead off with our Hall of the Citadel. Again, just to give us kind of the most versatility in our turn 2 play. Forsaken Crossroads from opponent with a Teferi avatar. Dragon Sleeves. We'd be seeing some Jeskai. Battle of Bywater, really nice find for us. We'll go ahead and play our Brandy Buck on turn 2 though. Hopefully we can attack and start creating some tokens next turn. Great Hall of the Citadel into a Goshen Tide. We're playing a Shrines deck. Never thought that was going to happen. Okay, so unfortunately we can't cast our Delighted Halfling. We can create some food, so we'll go ahead and do that. Next turn Samwise can come down. And at least start our Ring Temptation count going. We even might be able to surprise them and get one of their shrines off the battlefield. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay. So we have our food to be cracked. We'll see if they're going to attack in or hold back. They'll attack in. We'll go ahead. Make Meriadoc our ring bearer. We'll block their Goshen Tide. Ah, excellent. Okay. So we were able to find our 3rd land. Now this will allow us, hopefully at some point, to use our Battle of Bywater. Also, we have a choice now of playing Peregrine Took or Rosy Cotton out. If we play Rosy Cotton, we can buff our Meriadoc Brandy Buck. But if we wait 1 turn and put down Peregrine Took, we can create 2 tokens and then put 2 counters and really start growing our hobbits. So let's go ahead and play a Peregrine Took. We're not going to be able to attack this turn because of the first strike on the Goshen Tide of Ancient Wars. But hopefully they won't be able to play more than 1 or 2 shrines this turn. They are able to start picking off our creatures with Goshen Tide of Ancient Wars by paying 1 at their end step to deal X damage to us, where X is the number of shrines, but what actually does it to target player or planeswalker, not to target creatures. So that's not too bad. Okay, so we'll get pinged usually at the end of every turn. Ooh, gnarly. Okay. Goshentai of Hidden Cruelty, though, can pick off our creatures. And they're all 2 toughness as well, so a little unfortunate for us. Now, we do have a Stew the Conies, but no green mana yet, so we'll go ahead and play out our Rosy Cotton. We'll create some tokens. Bloop. Go ahead, we'll put some counters on our stuff. We'll go ahead and draw a card off of Peregrine Took. See what we can draw. Finally, our forest. Now, if we had held on to our land until we did that draw, that could have been a little bit better, but it's okay for now. We'll go ahead and play out a Meriadoc Brandybuck. Maybe they'll want to trade it for one of their shrines. That would be good news. But we do want to keep our Peregrine Took around to keep making additional foods. So opponent looking at 4 damage. Next turn, they will be able to pick off Rosy Cotton, which is a little unfortunate, but we can follow that up with a Stew the Conies into some card draw with Peregrine Took, depending on what they do here. Plenty of colors of mana from opponent. Goshentai of Shared Purpose. So they can start really clogging up the board here by playing some spirit creature tokens out. But they have a choice of either picking off Rosy Cotton, dealing some damage to our face, or creating some tokens. We'll see what they do. Oh, looks like they're just going to go face. Nope, that's the wrong one. And actually, it looks like opponent thought that they would be able to do damage to Rosy Cotton, but in fact, it is just to player or planeswalker. Okay, so we kind of got out of that one a little lucky. So now we have Stew the Conies. So we could pick off their Goshentai of Shared Purpose, which can clog the board. We can pick off their Goshentai of Hidden Cruelty. I think we take their Hidden Cruelty here, and then play a Samwise Gamgee out after that. And that is going to create a lot of card draw for us and put a lot of counters on our things. So we'll go ahead, we'll take out the Goshentai of Hidden Cruelty. We'll put 2 counters on Peregrine Took and Meriadoc Brandybuck. We'll play down a Samwise Gamgee. We will attack in with our Peregrine Took and our Brandybuck. Create some more counters, which we will then use to buff up Samwise Gamgee. And we now have a pretty sizable board. We can, because of Samwise's ability, start returning some of the... Ooh, they just take it all. Interesting. So we can return some of our historic cards from our graveyard, or we can start drawing with Peregrine Took. I think at this point, we wait and see what opponent's next play is. And then we can make a determination. But this is really the food mechanic at its best. When you have multiple creatures that all want food to do something for them, and you have the recursion ability where you can start bringing back things that have died to then provide more food to provide more value. A really, really nice circular mechanic. Looks like they're going to tap our Samwise. So that doesn't really matter for us. We don't have to worry about the tapping. They do untap one of their own mana, though, so maybe they're looking at a 3 mana spell. Mirror Box. Nice. So a very cool Goshentai Shrines deck from opponent. Unfortunately, it's not really going to matter much to us. We're going to go ahead and draw some cards with Peregrine Took. We'll be able to put down Samwise the Stout-Hearted next turn, which will create some foods, which will put some more counters on things, and we'll be able to swing for lethal. Opponent may be doing the math in their head right now. And because they only have 2 blockers here, yep, there we go. We'll be able to put another counter on our Samwise Gamgee, which will get it up to 5, and then we swing with all 4 creatures. They have to block 2 of the higher power ones, and that means that we'll get in just enough damage for lethal. GG's, kill a tomato. Okay. On the play against Smells Like Low Tide, which I don't mind that smell. We have a Frodo, we have our Sam, and if that's good enough for the books, it's good enough for me. We got some removal. We have some delay. We'll go ahead and play out. Doesn't really matter. We'll play planes. I think we'll probably go with Samwise Gamgee first. Start creating some of our food tokens. Looks like we're up against Boros. Boros artifacts. Yep, Boros equipment. Oh, very cool. Okay. So go ahead, play down yet another plains. We can put down a Frodo Baggins, or we could Hobbit Sting a Rabbit Battery. I think that's something we can do next turn, though, if we want to keep up more mana. So we'll create a token. I kind of like the idea of attacking with Sam here, so let's make him a Ring Bearer. See if they want to trade off. They do. That's fine. So that slows down their card advantage from Arms Scavenger, which would ordinarily draft a card from the spellbook. They also have a Jor Kadeen, first Gold Warden. Now this is going to get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures, and if its power is 4 or greater, draw a card. So they drew a card, the power is pretty high. We do not have enough creatures or food tokens yet to really... Oh, well, that is a food though, isn't it? So we'll go ahead and we'll draw with Lembas, and then we'll probably Hobbit's Sting. Oh, we don't need 2. Hobbit's Sting, Jor Kadeen. Ooh, Elven Chorus is an excellent pickup. So we'll go ahead and do this now, before it attacks. Well, if we hold it up, it might make... Yeah, let's go ahead and actually just hold up Frodo as a blocker. We'll see if they want to play and equip Jor Kadeen with anything else, and then we can kind of blow them out there. Yep, Swooping Lookout, a really good evasive creature. Another Rabbit Battery, not too shabby. So we'll see what they equip to. They're going to pay 1 to equip to the Lookout. We'll go ahead and Hobbit Sting, Jor Kadeen. So now they have a 2/3 flyer. It's not the worst, but we have a pretty good way of holding down the fort with Frodo Baggins. We'll go ahead and play our Elven Chorus. We'll see what's on top of our library. We have turned Frodo Baggins now into some mana. We'll go ahead and play out our Delighted Halfling, just to keep our ramp going. Go ahead and play out all of the mana as we have it. And even though we are taking some damage through the air, we have quite a bit of life gain. And we will be able to hopefully accelerate our permanent creation, our battlefield presence. So Blade Hold War Whip, we're going to have to block. It has double strike, and that would be pretty bad for us. And we're really hoping that we can draw some more creature cards off the top now. So Samwise the Stonehearted is a pretty good pickup here. We'll go ahead and play that just in case there's something else off the top. There is not. That's unfortunate. But it does allow us to get tempted twice, which means that we can now use the card draw off of Frodo. Go ahead and attack in with Frodo, draw 1, discard 1. We'll make that the extra planes, sure. We'll get in for 1 damage. We have Samwise out on the battlefield. We'll go ahead and play a Peregrine Took. We have, a Mirkwood Spider up next. Not too shabby. Which we can actually play off the top. And so we have a pretty good board presence now. And as you see, we went from essentially being flooded out with seeing another planes on top to putting 3 creatures down, all because of Elven Chorus. It's a pretty great card. So hopefully they can't give their War Whip flying. That would be bad. Next turn, we can crack some of our Lembas. Okay, that's fine. Okay. They are just loading up their War Whip here. Now, we will probably sacrifice our Sam Stouthearted. Both creatures have Vigilance. That's totally okay. That's fine. Okay. So we have some blockers. We have... Ooh, that's a pretty good one. We have a way to get through our deck. What we would really like is... Battle of Bywater here. Now, Cacophony Scamp, when it dies, is going to deal some damage to us. They are buffing it up as they go. Man. Double strike on Cacophony means that they can block Frodo Baggins, and Frodo Baggins requires a creature to block it. We don't have quite enough, so we'll go ahead, we'll attack with Frodo, which will draw and discard. Go ahead and discard a forest. Another Lembas off the top. Not what we want. We're getting a little flooded here, and seeing a few too many of our draw effect cards. We'll go ahead and we will see what they want to do here. Yep. So Cacophony Scamp is going to die before it kills us. It can deal another damage to our Frodo Baggins. This is unfortunate, but we'll go ahead and accept that. We do have plenty of life gain here, and we have plenty of mana, so we'll see what happens. Now, unfortunately, War Whip isn't equip 1 because of Kemba. Yep, they're putting that up on Swooping Lookout. That's going to make 4 damage come through the air. They're going to just keep equipping that until they get to where they want to be. 1 more Rabbit Battery on top of it. Yep, it's going to get it to 4/5. Double Strike means it's dealing 9. We'll go ahead and crack both Lembas. We'll do a shuffle, see what's on top. Meriadoc isn't so bad. We'll crack a little bit more. Food, gain some more life. So now we have Meriadoc off the top, even though we're taking 8 damage. We have a Reprieve in hand, which we will actually go ahead and return that Kemba's Outfitter. We don't know if we'll have another chance to do so. This gets us 1 card deeper into our deck. Okay. We are really getting very unlucky with our lands here. We've seen a lot of cards off the top of our deck. We have reshuffled to try to get some better draws. Unfortunately, we're not going to make it this time. We'll go ahead and play out our hand. We will pass the turn and say GG's. Good game, smells like low tide. Okay, on the play against Trinlin. Cool name, interested to know what it means. Now, I did make a couple adjustments to the deck for the Alchemy play queue. It seemed like Hobbit Sting wasn't as effective at the 2-drop, at least in 4 copies. And we also needed to create a little bit more food for it to be relevant. So I traded that out for a 3-mana removal spell, which hopefully we'll get to see, and then added a couple more creature spells, just so we were a little more consistent in the early turns. So we'll go ahead, we'll play our turn 1 Forest. We'll probably play a turn 2 Samwise Gamgee. Mirex from opponent, probably the Ninja deck again. Ninja or Poison. But surprisingly, I've seen more Mirexes in the Ninja decks than I have the Poison decks. So Stew the Conies is the 3-mana spell that I included. And so this is an instant, 2 mana, 1 green. Essentially a target creature deals damage equal to its power, but we also get to create a food token. We'll go ahead, we'll play down Sam. Next turn, we will try to play Frodo, and we'll see what happens. Looks like opponent might be on some sort of Boros equipment deck. That's kind of cool. Soul Stealer Axe looks actually like a pretty cool equipment I haven't seen before. It is an alchemy card, which means it does ridiculous things. Okay. Humans deck. Interesting. Okay, we'll go ahead and play Frodo Baggins out. We will make Sam our ring bearer and create a food. Next turn we have Lembas to try to draw into our land if we don't find one off the top. Opponent looks like they might be playing Selesnya. Selesnya humans. Interesting. Okay, nice. So we do draw a Shire off the top, which was another inclusion. I noticed I actually had 1 copy of this, so go ahead and throw that down. It will enter untapped because we control legendary creature. Now this would be one of those times when we actually would like a Hobbit's Sting. But I think I would be willing to trade a Frodo for a Sigardian Paladin. So we'll actually go ahead and give that a shot. We'll attack with Frodo, see if they want to take the bait. Stew the Conies allows us to use Sam's power of 2 to deal 2 damage to the Paladin. Opponent is properly confused by this attack. They do block. So we will go ahead and stew those Conies. Samwise will do 2 damage to the Paladin. Frodo will finish her off. And we now have 2 of the food tokens, and we can return Frodo with Samwise Gamgee's ability. So we can play Lembas next turn, crack those food tokens, or pay 3 to return Frodo to our hand. So if we draw a land off top, we can kind of have a nice recursion engine going. But we'll see what comes down next. Kemba's Outfitter. So we're just seeing a different take on the equipment deck. It's interesting that they named Human with their Secluded Courtyard, though. Not sure if they have more humans in the deck than they would something like a Kemba's Outfitter, but Soul Stealer doesn't give Kemba haste. That's good. We do find our 4th land. We do have one more Stew the Conies as well, so I'm tempted to stew the Conies here. But I also think that something else might be coming down next turn. And if we have a Lembas, we can crack that, return our Frodo, play our Frodo, and then potentially block with it. And I kind of like that idea, so we'll give that a go. We'll see what they have in hand. Yep. Go ahead, scry 1, draw 1. It is a Meriadoc Brandybuck. Interesting. So actually, sure. The more the merrier. So we'll go ahead and crack our food tokens to grab a Frodo. We'll shuffle our Lembas back into our library to eat again later. We will play out Frodo. Create a food token. We'll make Samwise our ring bearer again. We'll attack in with Sam. See if they want to trade or use a combat trick. We will draw a discard. Probably the Reprieve, since we aren't going to be using it this turn. And we'll want to continue our kind of assault in the next turns by playing out all our mana. Cameo's Safekeeping on the Kemba. We draw into a War of Last Alliance. I don't think War of Last Alliance is going to be as good this turn because we have Elven Chorus lined up, so we'll go ahead and drop that instead. It's good to know they are playing Tamio's Safekeeping here. I think that was probably a poor use for them. They got one out of their hand. We now know that they have those in the deck, so we can play around them. And they also don't have any good attack in because of Frodo's 3 toughness here. Now, they probably have some other equipment that they can equip, but we'll find out. Invasion of Moog. Really interesting inclusion in this deck. They're kind of all over the place, but I dig it. It feels like the kind of deck somebody puts together with whatever they have, and I am all for that. So Kemba is attacking for 3. They'll deal some damage, and then they'll seek a card with mana value equal to 3, so they'll get a 3 mana card out of their deck. We prize having a Frodo over them getting another card, which they can't play this turn anyways, so cool. Okay. So we get a Merry onto the battlefield. We will play a Stew the Conies. That will make Frodo our ring bearer. Very good. We'll go ahead and Stew the Conies maybe this turn, or again, we could wait until they play something out on Kemba. Let's go ahead and draw and discard here, though. We'll see what we get. We'll make a food off Mary. We'll draw into a Delighted Halfling. Very good. We will drop our Reprieve, I think. Or I guess we could play a Halfling out this turn and then a Reprieve. But we do want to have Elven Chorus around at some point for when we have plenty of mana. This is a tough one. I think we go ahead and drop the Halfling. I think the other three are just perfect tool cards for whatever we're trying to do here. So it doesn't seem like they have any priority holding up, so we'll go ahead and use this card now. That goes through. We go ahead and take out their primary threat. They're going to have to rebuild the board this turn, so that'll give us next turn to kind of look ahead and see what we can do. If we play Elven Chorus, that will turn each of our creatures into mana creators. So we can play Elven Chorus and keep up Reprieve even if we used up all of our mana. Tilda Dawnheart Martyr comes down. So they must be playing some other kinds of enchantments as well. A really fun just play what you have in your cupboard type deck. 2 green still. We'll go ahead and play our Elven Chorus. Hold open 1 green mana. Another mana off the top, not our favorite. They will have to block Frodo here. We'll go ahead and attack in with Frodo. We'll keep open Reprieve. We'll create another food off Mary. We will draw and discard. Yep, that forest, very good. We see a Battle of Bywater on top, which could be very helpful if Catilda grows a little bit too high. But this turn, as you'll see, when Frodo Baggins is our ring bearer, it has to be blocked by another creature if possible. Looks like opponent is running out of creatures, and they will call it quits. GG's, Trinlin. Okay, on the draw against the Crazy Phoenix, we have 2 Hobbit Stings, we have a Reprieve, we have Rosy Cotton of South Lane. I think this is good enough to go ahead and keep. A little slow, but again, if we're trying to create a midweek Magic deck, we need to think about the kinds of cards we're going to see in that format, and we're going to see a lot of early creatures, which Hobbit Sting should handle fairly well. We'll play a turn 1 Plains. Nothing really else for us to bluff. We have a Lembas, which we can use to draw another card. We have a Reprieve that could hold up something big if we expect something big. Maybe a Mana Rock from opponent. They are playing Network Disruptor. This could be ninjas, this could be artifacts. We'll go ahead and keep up a Reprieve. Third Hobbit Sting is not what we wanted to see. They are on black-blue, so this is probably ninjas. No blockers. They might be able to return something here. And we get a chance to see if Reprieve can interact in this situation. Nope, it appears we cannot. It is an ability, it doesn't go on the stack, therefore we cannot interact with the spell. And we do have Hobbit Sting. Fine. No creatures on the board also means that Takuchi Silencer isn't as crazy as it could be. We actually should have reprieved that. But we'll see what else comes up. We'll go ahead and put down a Lembas. It is going to allow us to use a Hobbit's Sting next turn. See if we can draw another land. Delighted Halfling. Ooh. Okay. They attack. They're going to ninjutsu something else. Probably their Disruptor, if I had to guess. Nope, their Thousand Face Shadow. Yep, okay. Put another Silencer in play. Can be pretty rough for us. No creatures on board for them to hit. But a Futurist. We do draw into something that can play a legendary spell. So Rosy Cotton is now on deck. We also have Delighted Halfling. I kind of like the idea of using our Halfling to kill one of their Silencers, since they could probably just kill us anyways. So we'll kill one of their Silencers. We will try to block their other Silencer if we can. And next turn, we still have a Lembas on board, so even if they kill Halfling, we can still Hobbit Sting the other Silencer and prevent some more damage from being done. Unfortunately, they're going to be able to ninjutsu their Thousand-Faced Shadow to create a copy of something else. And that could be bad, but we'll see. All of their creatures are relatively low power right now, which is nice. So we do block the silencer. They're going to ninjutsu in something else, maybe. Maybe they don't want to lose their silencer. Nope. Moon Snare Specialist, which when it enters returns a target creature. So they saved their silencer. They can replay an operative. We are still not doing too bad here. So we can actually Hobbit Sting a silencer. We can actually double Hobbit Sting here. So we can take out the Disruptor and the silencer, and then maybe have a way to come back next turn. I actually quite like this. We'll go ahead and do that now. And then do we crack a Lembas, play another Lembas? Well, we know that with what they have in hand, they can bring Thousand Face Shadow down, create a copy of another target attacking creature. And this is going to be attacking, so they can pull back maybe a Futurist Operative, deal 1, 2, 3, create a copy for 5, 6 damage. So we will have one more turn next turn. So I think we actually just maybe play a Lembas, see if we can draw into another land. And that'll give us a pretty good, there we go, pretty good next turn. So Delighted Halfling comes down. So because they can copy Moonsnare Specialist, they will be returning our Delighted Halfling back to hand. We can block Futurist. No, we can't. It is unblockable. We'll go ahead, we'll let it all through. Thousand Face Shadow will probably pull up Operative, copy Specialist, return our Halfling, but we'll be able to do some damage after that. Yep. Okay. 6 damage coming in. A ninjutsu again. That's interesting. Good draw for opponent off the top in the Moon Circuit Hacker. That's going to scry 2 and draw. Pretty good. They bottom both. Okay. A little late for our Battle of Bywater. And also, this is a really effective opponent's board for that card. Now, we do have some Hobbit Sting, we have Rosy Cotton, we have some food cracking that we can do. So I think we go ahead, we play down our Delighted Halfling. We go ahead and Hobbit Sting a Specialist. And then we can either crack, or we're going to have to crack something, but we might be dead anyways, actually, because they can return something, bounce something. Yep, that's going to be GG. So we'll go ahead and crack a Lembas and just say good game. And we'll see if opponent will just attack. The Crazy Phoenix gets in. We will block because we have to. They will return something that is unblocked to create a copy of another creature. With Thousand Face Shadow, they could probably, maybe depending on what they draw or drew this turn, do something crazier, but they definitely have the winning play on board. Yep, and they do. Alright, GG's Crazy Phoenix. Nope. With that, we're going to call it a day for our Lord of the Rings Shirelings deck built for the Midweek Magic event. Now, I did make some changes kind of throughout the gameplay to this deck as we went along. The Alchemy queue is a little bit higher power and obviously more varied than the Constructed will be for the Midweek Magic event. I still like having more removal in the form of a Hobbit's Sting, but Stew the Conies actually seems to fit the 3 slot pretty well. So you can focus on getting out, maybe an early creature on turn 1, then making sure you can get out some sort of creature on turn 2, and then when you have a board presence, start worrying more about how to remove things and clear up your opponent's board. I like the feel of this rollout a little bit more, so we'll go ahead and revisit what some of those additions were. So from the original deck list, I added in 3 Pippin's Braveries. This is specifically for Orcish Bowmaster. When Orcish Bowmaster comes in the mono black decks, in the Nazgul decks, it's going to usually be able to pick off our 1 toughness creatures. Something like a Rosy Cotton is going to get picked off. Something like a Samwise the Stout-Hearted is going to get picked off. That is a very annoying value play for mono black that if you want to beat them, you really can't let them take advantage of. So having a little bit of a combat trick, a little buff that can put your creatures over that 1 toughness is going to be pretty important. I also added 3 Shire Sheriffs. This is a way to, again, kind of combat that mono black amass or the black red amass that's going to be everywhere in the Midweek Magic event. Shire Sheriff allows you to sacrifice a food token and exile a creature an opponent controls. Now, this can also hit non-token creatures, but if you exile a token, it won't come back even if Shire Sheriff is removed. Now, we also went way down on our Lembas. We only have 2 copies here, and I think with the recursion that we have between Samwise, between Meriadoc, Peregrine, Rosy Cotton, I think we have enough of an engine there that we don't have to worry about card draw. We're not really trying to find more and more creatures. We're just trying to find our main pieces. So I think 2 copies of this is good. And then, again, Stew the Conies as our main removal spell, which is going to create a food token and take out an opposing creature. I like this very much. Now, we didn't really see a whole lot of our 4 slot here. We did draw War of the Last Alliance. I think this is going to be good in the late game if you need to replenish after a board wipe or after a series of removal spells. I really, really like Elven Chorus. Unfortunately, the games that we saw it, we did hit into a lot of mana flooding, but Elven Chorus is still a really strong card. You'll just have to trust me on that one. And then Radagast the Brown, I think, is still a good late game card to draw into. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him or any of his little forest buddies, but maybe in one of the games that you play with this deck, you'll be able to see some of the value there. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay as much as I enjoyed playing it. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the above, as it really does help a small channel like mine grow. And I will see you in the next one.